I'd like to kind of maybe put in perspective why we have Mike with us this morning. Not only is a great author, but Mike's a young fellow that's acquainted with all of us here in Logan County. Grew up the daughter of Charles W. and Jean Hoff Bennis, and well-known friends for all of us here. And he was just telling me that he graduated the class of 1960. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you might tell us where you went. That's kind of an interesting story for you. Usually the traditions of a high school graduating class, they go somewhere. Back in the innocent days, they took them all the way over to New Salem, to the park. Big deal. Now, Mike, he wanted to go a little further with his class. They probably were trying to teach him a lesson or something. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, we might not have been the very best class to graduate from Lincoln High School. We certainly achieved things and were very creative and went on to good careers, but our high school trip was to go to the prison in Pontiac. Men and women to go through the prison, and it was a hoot. I mean, the prisoners thought this was the craziest thing. And we went the little yellow school bus. We got out and we walked through the prison. So that was to show the road not taken, or hopefully not will be taken.
Well, and did it deter everyone from getting into that kind of life? Because they say crime doesn't pay, but on the other hand, it can pay very handsomely.
Well, you know, it was something I don't really think the intention worked, but what I think it was an amazing thing that I actually had forgotten about until we had our 50th class reunion. We started talking about all these things, and holy cow, yeah, that was our senior class trip.
You know, I wonder if today they could do that, take a class through there just as tourists.
I doubt that.
That'd be politically incorrect.
Yeah.
I think it might be. It would probably be a violation of their rights to privacy or something.
Yeah, but it'd make a good point.
Well, yes, it could.
Michael and I are a generation apart here, but we were laughing, and he still. That being said, he still had W.C. Bill Hanlon as principal when he was a kid in high school.
I've heard so much about him. He must have been a man.
Well, he ran a tight
my
ship.
father was scared to death of him. Everybody in Lincoln was frightened of Bill Hanlon. I mean, he was the man. And there were rumors of his punishment, his corporal punishment, and the way he handled things. Let me tell you, he ran a tight ship.
Well, but those rumors kept people straight way back then. You know, like when I was in school, the biggest worries that they had was running in the halls or chewing gum. Well, now they'd probably give you a gold star if you ran in the hall with gum in your mouth. It's such a nothing.
To put things in perspective, this young man's father was one of my teachers in high school. I was at Southmore High School.
Really?
Yes, no kidding. Yeah, and then in his few days there, that he. But he had a little difficulty getting on with the head coach there.
Oh, yes, I know that. That was when the freshman team beat the varsity twice.
And your dad on
that was not a popular event.
Speaking of politically correct.
Yes.
Speaking of politically correct, how did you come to get into the field of being a romantic novel author, Mike? That's an intriguing story, I think, and by the way, you might also tell us that the professional organization to which you belong.
Okay, I belong to the Writers Association of America, Romance Writers Association of America, and also the local Saguaro Romance Writers Association of Tucson. It's a group that's very, very supportive. If you sell something, you get a red rose. If you get a rejection slip, you get a little bag of chocolates. They have all kinds of promotional things. Each month you have a list that's subscribed to the Write for Words, and they all put their totals up there, and the one who writes the most words in a month gets a gold crown, and the next one gets a white rose, and they have all these incentive things. It's very, very supportive. There are some really lascivious writers, and then there are some historical romance writers, but they're all very serious. A number of them are nationally known and very, very well publicized, and Harlequin sort of uses these groups as a seed base, and they have very close relations, and they do everything to promote the writers and make sure that obviously their first stop is Harlequin.
I have to make a confession here in front of God and everybody. This is the first romantic novel I ever read.
Me too.
Maybe you'll read more.
Well,
so you hit a whole new audience here.
I used to be an avaricious reader, but it was always, documentary history, that type of. But so I enjoyed reading this. I was intrigued with the way you wove romance into your story. Lots of romances, by the by. I would say that he treated the subject matter, folks, treated it very, very well. He refrained from using graphic descriptions and still got the job done. That was very interesting piece of writing, and it becomes more interesting when you know the fellow that put it together. And it took a long time, didn't it, Mike?
Well, this is interesting. I wrote the whole novel in 6 weeks.
That's right.
Okay.
Did you read?
All done. And then I rewrote it 8 times over 2 years.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, now we're getting down to it. Before you actually get to publishing the book, do you have to submit parts of it as you go along?
You do. Now, this is the interesting thing. I don't know if anyone is really up to speed with what's going on in the publishing business, but it's now a rotten business. Publishing houses are losing money. They're having trouble.
Really?
Google now is making available just about everything online that's been ever written, and they're not going to be royalties paid. The biggest thing is the electronic publishing. Amazon started with Kindle. They can publish a book for very, very little money, sell it for $9.95 or whatever it is. And in London, they'll give you a 70% royalty if you through Amazon. So your book there, the normal royalty depends on what your agreement is with Amazon. My book was published through Amazon's group, Create Space, and the one before that. But the interesting thing is today's publishers have the problem. You look at Barnes & Noble, they're losing money. Look at Borders, they're suffering. What happens? They have to stockpile books. You walk through there, you look through a bookstore. This is what's so lovely about a bookstore, is you have a plethora of titles and everything else. Man, this costs money. It costs inventory. Banks have to loan money against inventory, and there's a lot of unsold books. Suddenly, electronic publishing, there are no unsold books. It's published on demand. The next thing they're talking about, both Borders and Barnes & Noble are talking about having their own electronic publishing. You go in for a best-selling author and they're sold out, come back in the afternoon. We'll have it for you, hardcover bound, perfect. And what is the publishing houses are trying to avoid the inventory. The future is tough. I mean, the electronic published Kindle in New Zealand, I heard that they're paying no royalties.
None at all.
So there are all kinds of forced pressure. The publishers look at a book they're going to publish, and what do they look? They look at what's selling. They look what's really hot in television with what's going on all over. It's sort of a compilation of political, the economy, the what's hot on TV, the sitcom, everything else, and they kind of have a feeling what the American public wants to read, and they're looking for that. So if you're going to propose something to a major publisher, you have to put it in a genre that they're publishing and also that could be comparable to one of their books. In my own case, I sent out the book with the agent for 150 different publishers. Some of them liked it and held on to it. Others, I didn't hear from them. I contacted them through the agent. They didn't have it. We sent it again. And they're looking at it. This went on for a couple of years, and I finally realized, I just had my 50th high school reunion, that I would be a pretty old guy by the time I ever got this published. So I figured, I worked for a toy company, Alex. I was director of communications. When I started with them, they had like 39 products. When I left, they had over 900. Yeah. I was director of communication this time. I got them all on TV, on radio, in all the print media, and I did a wonderful job promoting them. And I thought, this is starting to make sense. It is not that expensive to self-publish. I have these tools that I have learned from not only selling advertising, but working with advertising people, and then working with the media. I thought, this is perfect. I'll blend this together. I'll have create space, do the book, and then I will do all the promotion myself. And it's something I know. The trouble is that many authors submit the book to publishers, and you have to realize the publisher doesn't sell your book. Jobbers sell your book. They get the book. Now, I work with toy people. We had toy salesmen. They would go into a toy store, and they're on commission. They're making money by what they sell. So, what do they want to know is what's selling in the store, and they replace it, and then they have some ideas, and they come out with a new idea. Now, they could have a whole bag of tricks and new products, but they're after making money, and they're going to pull out what they think they can sell and make money on. Same thing with books. The jobbers are going to sell what they can earn money on, and they'll come up with something they really like. But nevertheless, it's a profession right now the jobbers are hurting. So you change this, and you get into the position that really, even if a major publisher publishes your book, you're going to have to sell it. You're going to have to go to book fairs. You're going to have to do interviews. You're going to have to go all around. Hopefully the publisher will promote this and help you sell yourself. Some may not. Now, here's the downside. Forbes did an article, I think it was a year or two ago, on published new writers that everybody loves. They're beautifully written. I mean, English teachers would have palpitations of the heart. This is literature at its finest. Okay, you can't get better than this. You know how much they made? $8,000. Okay? Now, how long does it take to write a book? Sometimes a year, two. You don't pump those out. So Steinbeck once said, writing makes betting on the horses seem like a gainful profession. So the whole thing is in transition now. And it's all in development. It's all changing, which is good. But we're going to come out of this with a publishing world that is heretofore different than anything we've ever seen.
And speaking of making money, if we don't take a quick pause for a commercial, Mr. Ash is not going to make anything up here. WLCN 96.3.
Better do that.
Right ahead, Mr. Ash.